This is the Mornings with Simi podcast. Thanks for listening. Is it time to reform Metro Vancouver? I think it's going to be an issue for sure for voters in this upcoming municipal election, but not all local politicians think so. We'll hear what the mayor of Langley Township has to say. Let me just say, some people do get a little testy on this subject. We'll find out why. Well, it is only January, but the municipal election is in October. But, things are already getting really interesting. Now, earlier this week on the show, we had New Westminster Councillor Daniel Fontaine and Richmond Councillor Kashid on the show. Both are also running for mayors in their cities, in New Westminster and in Richmond. They were here because they wanted to announce something, what they call the Metro Vancouver Accountability Charter, because they believe that Metro Vancouver as an organization is in drastic need of an overhaul. Clearly, they know that the public, we are not happy with how things have been going and how much politicians seem to be making off going to meetings. We've all been waiting for some accountability, right? And it is so slow to see that happen. So they joined us on the show, and this is the pledge that they were making.
There has to be change come not only from within, such as with a new governance model, but certainly change from the province.
Probably what will stick out in the public's mind the most this morning is the commitment that both Councillor Heed and I have made that if we become mayors, unlike what you currently see at Metro Vancouver, we will not take any additional honoraria, stipends, payments, whatever you want to call it.
That's a pretty big promise, right? Certainly kicks things up a notch for this municipal election year. I do think that will resonate with voters. Why? It's about the money. There are the salaries that mayors and councillors make for doing the work in their communities, and then there's the extra money they make for the regional work that they do. Now, I am of the opinion it's the same job. If you run for mayor, you should know that the job entails you representing your community at the regional level. But the money is good. Too good, some would say. When you get to the point when most of the mayors of the region are making considerably more money than provincial cabinet ministers, I think there's a bit of a problem, right? For instance, mayors like Malcolm Brodie, Mike Hurley, George Harvey, Brad West are making almost $400,000 a year. For 2024, the numbers astound. Malcolm Brodie, $397,000 a year. Mike Hurley, $377,000. Brad West, $376,000 a year. Now, we are definitely going to be asking other municipal candidates about this. It's a little hard tracking them down and getting them on to talk about it because of the topic. But not all of them are on this lucrative list, are they? Port Coquitlam Mayor Brad West is. He was on the Jill Bennett show yesterday where she had the opportunity to ask him about the pledge to forego the extra money and whether or not he would take it. Here is what he said.
Well, I haven't read their challenge, and I am actually advocating for a whole host of changes at Metro Vancouver, reform governance, and a whole number of other things. Now, when it comes to the compensation that's set at Metro and other things, that is in fact being reviewed right now. They're separate entities from the municipality, and so if we want to have an overhaul where the governance changes and it's spun off from having a board of directors of elected officials to a board of directors of professionals, I actually have no issue with that. It probably means that those professionals are still going to have to be compensated because most people won't go on a board of directors unless they are. But it will mean that there's no elected officials that are compensated. So there's a level of complexity here that needs to be worked through that probably extends beyond what I think is probably more trying to take advantage of a lot of bad press that Metro Vancouver has because those two individuals are in a campaign to become mayor of their cities. And fair enough, they're trying to jump on that and see if they can get some votes out of it.
That's a little word salady, isn't it? I don't think he actually answered the question. There will be lots of opportunities, I think, to ask candidates about this, but we did want to talk more about it. So we are very grateful that Eric Woodward, the mayor of Langley Township, has joined us to talk more about accountability at Metro Vancouver. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks to me. And you certainly didn't have any trouble tracking me down to come on.
No, we didn't. And that's why I was so grateful. And we appreciate that because you could understand sometimes it's a little tough for politicians to talk about this, isn't it?
Well, I'm happy to talk about it and don't have any issue with it. And I'll note that I'm not in your list of the 400 clubs, so I'm happy to talk about it.
You're not on the 400 club, but I mean, you obviously have also served on some of these other boards and you get that extra compensation. But what do you think about this issue?
Well, I think the issue is kind of what Mayor West was talking about, which is that there is an effort underway with people on the board to try to make some changes and address a lot of these issues. Most of what Councillor Fontaine and Councillor Heed do reference was occurring under the last board, not under the current one, regarding trips and other things. That's all been shut down by this board. So, ballooning board compensation is also not accurate. It's actually been going down under some changes that have been made. So I think there is some response. The challenge that ultimately is that a lot of us are very frustrated to be trapped in this governance structure set up by the province. And if people want to see a change, that can only come from the province. And a lot of us would welcome a serious review of how Metro Vancouver can be governed. And while many are targeting the politicians, which is totally fine, and the media loves that. I get that. The real issue is often the bureaucracies and how they operate and how they are not responsive or accountable to anyone.
Would you be okay with then rolling back this structure and then this extra money wouldn't be made?
I think so. I think ironically, Simi, I actually tried to not be compensated by Metro Vancouver, and they refused to not pay me. And so it was kind of ridiculous. They told me to just donate it to charity, so I do that. It's a bit of a silliness thing. The board doesn't want that situation to be reviewed fully. So anybody who tries not to be paid is told no. I think without a new board, that probably won't change. There are some good things in the Accountability Charter, so-called, that I do agree with, but some others I don't, so I wouldn't sign it. But I do think it's a great conversation starter that has some obvious things that need to be done.
Right. Do you understand the public's then frustration when they hear and see about some of the stuff?
Well, I share it. I think that's the irony. A lot of us on the board do share it, including Mayor West, who has also tried to initiate some reforms. So, that's the irony of the thing. Just because you're sitting there doesn't mean you agree with all of it. I mean, there's more complicated than Councillor Fontaine and others will highlight. The representatives on the board are chosen by local councils. They're not mayors that are automatically there. And so there's a lot of councillors at the board table that I think are resistant to change as well. And I think that's the big issue.
What is a better way to address this then, Mayor Woodward? Like, how do you set this up so that this is the job, that everybody understands that if you are mayor, you're representing at the local level and the regional level?
Well, that'd be fine with me, Simi. I think there's no issue with me with that. I have no problem at all serving at Metro Vancouver as part of the mayor's salary, none whatsoever.
Okay, so is that the fair way? Like, what would you tell the province to fix this?
Well, I think the province, if they're going to touch Metro Vancouver, they should look exactly what I think the charter is talking about here. Point number 3, include consideration of how Metro Vancouver and TransLink and Ecom are governed as well. The dual board structure at TransLink creates a lot of additional people sitting around making decisions, getting paid. That needs to be reviewed. I think there's a lot of duplication between Metro Vancouver and TransLink, for example, multiple accounting departments, multiple HR departments, multiple planning departments, multiple communications departments. I think there's a lot of opportunities for synergies by reviewing governance throughout the region. We do not need 21 municipalities to serve 3 million people. There's a lot of duplication there. We end up with a lot of people at the Metro board that have one vote that don't really have any influence, but they're getting paid to be there. I think there's lots of opportunities to make change.
Do you think this will be a municipal issue?
Not really, no. I think it's a nice soundbite for Fontaine to get endless media attention, which he's obviously very good at, and I applaud him for that. But here in my municipality, we are constantly recognizing and highlighting the challenge that Metro Vancouver presents to us, but also some of the benefits that come along with the sharing of infrastructure of water and sewer treatment plants. It's a much better way to go than each municipality doing it on their own or a collection of them doing that like they do in Abbotsford and Chilliwack. They have a number of challenges affording to pay for that infrastructure as well. So I see it. No, not really. I think here we're going to be focused on township and Langley issues primarily, not so much regional issues when it comes down. We've got a lot of challenges here in the township to continue to work on as well.
Well, thank you so much. Again, we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about this.
Anytime, no problem. Okay. And at some point, you might have to register as an in-kind contributor to the Fontaine campaign. He gets so much media attention for very little.
He
does.
Yeah, he gets a lot of feedback from people. But then again, I mean, you get a lot of media too. I think you were just on Jazz Drill Hall show yesterday. So yeah, I think we spread it around for sure. That is Mayor Eric Woodward from Langley Township. But that's the thing. People want to hear about politicians and their accountability, right?